You speak or I speak? Okay, so this is the Miro board with the brainstorming for the EBPI Phase 2. This was built in a meeting with me, Alexandre Siqueira, Mohan, and Dr. Locke. And the intent of this recording is to explain how we structured in each of the ideas that we had. So first of all, we have this divided into 3 sections here. The first one being about engagement or efforts, possible efforts to promote a higher level of engagement. The second one is about quality of response, and the third one is about the sense of being cared for. For each of these sections, we divide into input, process, and output. With input being data that we collect
from the Jasper to virtual people factory. So input is with respect to virtual people factory. So data from any data from Jasper to VPF would be considered as input.
Yes. Including those that Jasper may not still collect. Right? So everything that we may get from the user interacting with the physical device and the survey. Right? Process being what we are going to do with the data collected to define an output. Right? So this can be a rule-based process. This could be some machine learning process. And output is the action that we are going to trigger based on the outcome of the process. Right? So this could be a message on screen. This could be the trigger of a
virtual agent
or
a video. Yes. And any kind of output that will be shown towards Jasper.
Yes. Okay, so with that in mind, we can go to the detail of the input, and this being under the engagement. So let's see. This is divided into 2 sections. One, collecting sensory data information from a device to identify if user is not paying attention, and collecting metadata from user interaction. Right? We have defined here, we try to define all the sensors that may be accessible in the tablet, because that's what the users will have in their hands. So we have gyroscope, accelerometer, light sensor, the tablet's camera, video eye tracking, and we even went to other places like, what if the user could have additional sensors attached to them? So that's where we wrote heart rate tracking, physio tracking, some form of physiological sensor, right? Okay, and so besides that, we defined some metadata. So in the metadata here being time to respond in between questions of the survey, keystroke tracking. So the idea is what? That if the person is answering a textual question,
any open-ended response, and based on how frequently are they interacting, if they stop interacting while typing, so those kind of events can be put into this category.
So the idea is that possibly if the keystroke, the speed or number of keystrokes are low, maybe they're not engaged. Okay. Collecting user responses, this would be related to analyzing the actual textual response.
Yes.
Right? This could be um, with a tool like we talked this morning.
Luke,
Luke.
language interpreter and word count. It's a software used to do linguistic analysis.
Okay. And some other basic ideas that we had that was, for example, analyzing the number of open questions answered. The idea being, if you don't answer the open questions, it might be that you're just rushing to finish the questionnaire,
Right.
so you're not really engaged. So even the quality of the multiple questions may not be that high. So that's the idea behind the number of open questions answered. The other one, ask user directly their level of engagement.
So this idea was instead of trying to make out of metadata, we can directly ask user something like question would pop up. I rate your engagement from 1 to 5 and users rates 2 to 3. Then that's a good sign for us to take our next measures. So it's this, I would say, implementing this like frequently, this would be annoying, but randomly collecting such kind of information can be useful. So that was the idea.
Yeah, and this is a good one because the processing would be very simple, right? And then expert observation. I think there are two things when we talk about expert observation. One is direct expert observation, where you may have someone that is close to the patient actually looking at them answering the questions, and by their behavior, seeing if they are engaged or not. The other one could be an expert is receiving information about the behavior of the person answering through, for example, Slack. So they're remotely monitoring the behavior of the person answering the questions, and they could start some action, right? So that's what's under expert observation. Okay. So the process. Okay, so the first one is predict user level of engagement. I think most of what we are listing here is about trying to predict.
What do we do with that data we receive?
Yeah, and it's about the level of engagement. And then at a higher level, either you have a rules-based system or a machine learning type of approach. The first one here, check quality of response. For example, the length of response compared with a generic very good response.
So we would have a ideal response, which our system would know. So for us, say for example, how stressed you are, and if you have an ideal response which says I'm stressed because of this, and this is something which is bothering me, and we take what user responded and compare it with generic response we have, and see what are the differences, and try to come up with some kind of metrics to say that user responded good, bad, best, worst, and we can along the spectrum.
Right. An example for rule-based one here this is a rule-based one, right? A very simple rule-based could be even the length of the response.
Right.
A more advanced rule-based would be using the Luke program,
analyzing the textual information.
Analyzing the textual information. The other one we have here is identify type of sensory information that means user is disengaged.
So this process is about collecting multiple sensory information. For example, in the input process, we listed light, accelerometer, or gyroscope. So if we collect data previously and see which sensor which sensor is most informative about engagement, then we can look through that sensor information instead of going through all of them, and specifically identify, okay, if this signal peaks at this moment, this this is the indication that user is disengaged.
Mm-hmm. So this could be the user, we sensing that the user put the tablet down, right? Or it could mean us tracking the eye gaze of the user and seeing that he's not looking at the tablet, right? So we are not really concerned right now with privacy and all that, but this could be a way, right? And then testing with normal users. So this, if I remember correctly, we said that because we came up with the idea that for some of these techniques, we would have to create some form of baseline of what was a normal engaged behavior.
Right. So all this process requires some kind of data, and since we don't have enough data with actual patients, so one idea would be to test it with normal users, say students on campus, and collect those kind of sensory information data, or we can use Amazon Mechanical Turk to collect textual inputs and then try to analyze them. And we build a model around them and try to use those models with Jasper.
All right. Okay, what about output? Let's see. So first, when I organized this, the complexity of the implementation, I tried to organize this so that the complexity grows as we move down in this list. So the first one here was Slack notification. So we identified there is a low level of engagement. We send some message
to Slack.
Through Slack, right? Someone that's monitoring can then take some form of
steps,
measure, action. Yeah. The next one is screen flashes, visual highlight.
So this was kind of notification to user or the person who is monitoring this patient. So if there is lack of engagement, maybe screen can flash, or maybe system can highlight the important information for user, so that user can focus on what user should focus in the content. Since there is the whole page, we can make users direct towards important information.
And I think that the same area, so that's why they're here, is some audio notification, some vibrotactile feedback, right? So if you are disengaged, maybe there's some sound in terms of a notification, there is some vibration from the tablet. At this point, we're not exactly sure what that could be, but these are possible things.
Possible, yes.
A video plays, right? And so, again, we identified disengagement. We play a video. We came up with two ideas here. One was a video of real patients talking about how important that was for them to answer that, something like that, or even them asking the person to finish, something like that. This one, video of Dr. Jobs. Oh, a specialist, right? So, so this is a doctor.
A video of doctor pop up and doctor engage with users to
promote engagement. Yeah, one idea was reminder of the importance and possible positive outcomes of the completion, right? So for both examples of video. Ooh, okay, let's go. Okay, the other one was tell a story, right? So, and this could be even a video also, but this could also be an animation. Right. The idea is, again, tell a story. Maybe this could promote engagement. The next one, virtual human pops up. Right, so again, we identify lack of engagement, in some way a virtual human pops up and start to interact with the user. Right? Individualized appearance. Oh, this was the idea that we could collect some demographics about the user interacting with the tablet and have the virtual human match
users
demographics, gender, maybe things like that.
Interface.
And that has been shown to increase engagement, which is not possible necessarily with the video. It is, but you'd have to have a number of different videos. Try to fill a template by asking user questions that fill in the blanks.
So this was this idea was discussed in a meeting personally with Dr. Corner and team. So idea was, instead of asking user to type everything, we would have fill in the blanks kind of response where user should enter important information, but this would allow us to show user what information are we expecting. So that generic fill in the blanks would help patient to fill the additional information and fill in the blanks.
So currently they type in.
Right, it's open.
On a tablet. So yeah, that's an interesting idea. Is that something that they are pursuing?
Not yet. I'm not sure, but that was one of the ideas discussed.
Okay. And that's the same thing, right? Convert the user interaction to a conversation. Okay. One of the other ideas was play a game.
Right.
I remember Dr. Locke saying something about, if the person is found to be not really engaged, then show some form of game, or even the whole interaction or the experience of answering the surveys being a game, right? Where every time you answer a question that is classified as high quality, then you get points or something like that.
Right.
And that could, if you could compare the results of one person with previous people that had answered these surveys and rank them, right? So your motivation to be engaged and to answer this would be to see how you would rank against others.
Right.
Aid comes in to talk to patient to re-engage.
So as soon as we detect disengagement, we send a notification to the person or the aide who is with the patient, and then we can notify them to go and visit patient and discuss with them where they're facing difficulties or if they need any help. So they should be utilizing existing people who are available there for increasing engagement.
And I think the other parallel idea here was we detect lack of engagement. If it's at a certain level, we basically halt the Jasper, and we have the person collecting that information.
Right.
Possibly in another tablet, but now instead of the patient typing and answering, he is answering to a clinician or some aide that is asking the questions.
Okay.
Right? I think that was the difference between these two. Okay, let's go to quality of response. Okay, again, input, process, output. There are some of the other input that we have discussed here. They may also apply to these two.
These are additional ones.
Yeah.
Other than that.
So these inputs are additional to the other ones, right? They're not exclusive to quality of response. And I think we have talked about this one. Expert intervention,
response analysis, user demographics. These overlap with what we discussed in previous sections. So
yeah, the process here being language analytics. So this is the LYWC we mentioned actually before already.
other NLP toolbox, like then we can do sentiment analysis, what kind of emotions are there in the response. We can also compare uh, to different groups, like it's like a generic response. Again, it's comparing between across the spectrum of bad, medium, good, and then
Right, right. And I think you wrote this one, but train patient to respond. Right. This was an interesting idea. There was so we showed them what's a good answer. We showed them what's expected.
So yeah, initial first two interactions can be helping user to build that answer. So if user is typing, so a pop-up comes out, try adding this part so that we can understand what you're thinking. So some similar to that.
Yeah, yeah. So basically, showing the participant what's expected, and they would hopefully have better quality responses. Ask a follow up and tell me more style questions.
So as soon as say for example user responds a single sentence for an open-ended response, we can have a system respond, tell me more about it. So this is like a invitation to expand what you just said, and this would give another chance for user to um, provide more information, and that can be one of the output. Yeah.
Right. The other idea was praise the participant whenever he answered an answer that was considered to be high quality.
Right.
Right. So if he wrote more than one word,
so
or
yeah.
We found some markers there that were.
Or maybe even without any of those initial responses, good job, like good job for responding.
Okay.
Like 90 out of 100 people do not respond to these questions, and you were one of those 10. So giving them how special they are.
Which matches the second one here, encouragement after a set of answers. Give points if they respond properly. So
this was like gamifying the experience. So every time they add good sentences, we can give them points, those like digital points, like a game. So you earn 5 Jasper points. So you can talk to Jasper for 5 minutes more.
Okay.
Something like that.
Right. That's very similar to this one also, right? So show how others performed. We talked about this to compare with how they rank against others, and show them how well they are performing with respect to others. Basically the same idea here. Show help when necessary. So basically, I think this was you're answering an open-ended question. You answer that question with one word. The moment you submit, you are prompted to maybe review that answer. Right?
Yeah, and giving some idea for user that they're not alone in this. Many people responded to this similar way, and this would give them more motivation to getting involved in responding.
And I think the point here is the real time.
Yeah.
Right. So you answer, there's a feedback to you, and it allows you to maybe rethink that answer. How many others were in same situation, as you mentioned? Allow user to edit responses. Okay. So let's go through the other one here. Sense of being cared for. Okay, so let's go through the input, process, and output again. I'm not sure if we have new ideas for input.
It's like a help button. So.
Oh yes, button to call a human at any time. So it says the idea is to give a virtual or a physical button to the person responding the survey so that they can call someone if they feel that that's not working for them. Ask user the level of care, the same as we said. Let's ask user the level of engagement, and testing speak aloud to discover what would be delighters.
So this ticket was brought up by Dr. Law. So delighters would be anything more than average response. So
Or more than what's expected
expected
from the system.
Mm-hmm.
Right, so what would be something that would make the users not just finish the surveys well, but be really surprised of how interesting maybe, how that helped them,
Mm-hmm.
how
Mm-hmm.
that made them feel better. So they would be surprised in a good way somehow.
Mm-hmm.
And the idea I think is would be to speak, do some sort of speak aloud
Mm-hmm.
trials with them to
Mm-hmm.
see if we could find what would be
What would delight them?
what
This
would
would be
delight them,
yeah,
and then
good
walk
to have,
toward
must have, and good to have.
yes.
So all the systems, the current Jasper system is must have, but what would be good to have for them so that we can build upon that.
Yeah. So in terms of process here, generate caring responses. So this comes from literature that defines what would be caring, a caring way of giving responses, right?
Yeah, this was more of like, for example, if you call to a customer care, so they speak to you in a specific way. It's like thank you, please. So those kind of words is, can be specifically uh, built. Those sentences can be built to generate caring responses.
Mm-hmm. Um, Eight comes to talk to patient to re-engage. I think we have talked about that. Real person in loco, um, as in doing an intervention when necessary. So again, it's the same thing. Someone comes in, and then we also talked about this one: real person, remote intervention. Right? Oh, this one is interesting. I believe it was from you. Ask user to tip after every session.
So this was kind of like if Jasper did a good job, ask user to tip Jasper's how Jasper did so that user can evaluate Jasper and at the same time increase their engagement with the system so that they are kind of if Jasper is doing a good job for them, they get a chance. It's similar to like if you go to a restaurant, if you tip, then it's showing that you are cared well. You that is like an identification of that.
All right. So let's see the outputs, and it's almost like the process and the output here. They're a little mixed. But let's see what's under output. Personalized introduction, referral, and end of survey. Um, so the idea is to make the users feel more cared for. We actually have the clinician or someone that's handing them the survey enter some information. So, for example, their names, so that when they start the survey, they will have something like, "Hi, Mohan. We're happy that you're answering this," and blah. So it doesn't feel just like a survey. It's something a little more personalized that may make them feel more cared for. The same thing is related to personalized interface, right? So if we get some demographics, maybe we can tailor the interface to match their backgrounds, right? Different cultures may like different colors. They may feel more comfortable with different types of interfaces. And then personalized responses. I think that goes back to what we also said. But this is a little more interesting to me. Personalized responses can be just, "I'm using your name."
Yeah, yeah.
Right? But it could also be something more complex than that. So if I can imagine we're dealing with people from a range of ages
Mm.
and having a language for a teenager being
Based on
a little different than what we would talk if we were talking to a senior.
Right.
And that may make them feel a little more cared for. Explain time. So what was that? Understand where you are in the process. Explain importance.
So since the Jasper is like a big intervention, like, so if user gets an idea like how far are they from the end or how many levels they have completed, so just a idea which shows them where they are in the process. And explain importance is how we can make users understand they are contributing to the research. So if you can show them that their interaction with Jasper would help other patients who are going through the same process, they can help them at the same time. So this
So maybe the point here is if I understand why I'm answering this, I understand better that I am being cared for. Right? Earn opportunity to move up the wait list. This one was, I remember we talked about this, and this was in the gamification area, I think.
Yeah.
Right? If I give good answers, I would have this opportunity to move up the waiting list, and that in turn could make me feel more cared for. Right? Because I do this, I move up the list, so I feel good about it. Okay, I think that was the idea. Follow-up email questionnaire for money.
So once they finish the intervention, research team can follow up and say thank you, that to increase the sense of being cared for.
And even getting some financial compensation. That's good. So the same idea with a thank you note. This was especially interesting to me because there is actually literature that says if suicidal participants receive a thank you note after visiting the hospital, within a week of visiting, the chances of them actually committing suicide go down by some percentage. But I thought that was very interesting. Show how they are helping others by going through this. I think it's the same idea of having them understand why they are answering that and how that can be used for them and for others. Those are good points. Do a favor to user and user customer care language. I think this is repeated. So this one is interesting. Do a favor to user.
So this was based on if say Jasper does something, then it's based on social dynamics rule. It's you would probably be more favorable to a Jasper in future scenarios where Jasper would need your help. So it's like, hey, let me do that task for you. For example, if user is submitting a report, Jasper can say, hey, you don't have to submit the report, I'll submit it for you to your doctor. Then in future, when Jasper asks something to user might be more willing to do that job for Jasper.
But this is another take on the move the patient on the up the waiting list kind of thing. All right. So these were some of the ideas that we came up. As we develop this, I think we will get even other ideas. But I think we finished this, right?
Yeah.
We have explained every ticket.